Hello there and welcome back to another episode of the Lazy Girl's Guide to Podcasting with me, Verity. I'm trying something out a little bit new. Is this new? I don't know. I've done this before, but basically I am filming for YouTube again. And I go through peaks and troughs, I know, and I will film for YouTube and I'll do that for a few episodes and then I'll be like, nope, not doing a video again. I want to stick with just audio. But either way, I am filming a few episodes for YouTube. I say filming them for YouTube. It is the podcast, but hey, if you watch on YouTube, you're not just going to get the video forms, the waveforms, that's what I mean. You're going to see my face as well. So that may or may not be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. Either way, in today's episode, I wanted to almost do a bit of a follow-up episode for episode 80, which so many of you got in contact with me about to say, oh my gosh, Verity, this is just ridiculous. Because in episode 80, we talked about how much I spend every month and every year to run my podcast. Now, I did say within the podcast episode that this was completely my choice to spend this much money on my podcast. It's my hobby. This is what I want to spend my money on. Some of you got in touch and were like, oh my God, Verity, that's absolutely insane. How on earth why on earth do you spend so much on your podcast? Others of you got in touch to say, do you know what? You've just made my podcasting budget look really small, so thank you very much. Others of you were like, do you know what? It's your podcast. You spend however much you want on it. Completely up to you. But either way, there was a lot of conversation, a lot of you contacting me about the amount of money that I spend on my podcast. So I'm glad that it created the discussion there. But what I wanted to do was create this follow-up episode with 10 podcasting tools that are 100% free for you to use. That's right, 10 tools that I've used either myself or I have friends who use them or I've trialed them, whatever. 10 completely free podcasting tools. So let's start off with the first one. So the first one is Enhanced Speech by Adobe. I am going to have every single one of these tools linked down in the show notes or the episode description if you are watching on YouTube, or the show notes if you're listening on podcast. But the first one is Enhanced Speech from Adobe. Fantastic tool. If you follow me on TikTok, I've recently done a couple of TikTok videos about Enhanced Speech by Adobe. Now, this is completely free. You can only use it though if your files are up to 30 minutes long. So if your episodes rather are up to 30 minutes long. But in all fairness, you could always split it into multiples and then stitch them together again. Might do so. You know, the technical people amongst us all will probably say, actually, that's not the best thing to do because the more you process audio, anyway. But up to 30 minutes per episode, it will enhance automatically using AI for free for you, which is amazing. Now, some of the conversation on TikTok was, well, it's a free tool, it's an AI tool. Is it really that amazing? Do you know what? I actually don't think it's that bad. I think that it does a pretty good job. I think that for the vast majority of podcasters, if you've recorded something, the audio just isn't 100% there, if you don't understand the ins and outs or have the time to go through all of these different audio editing processes, then actually this is a really, really good tool. Now, don't get me wrong, it's never going to replace high profile and high level editing, but I think for most podcasters out there, this is a really awesome tool. So that's Enhanced Speech by Adobe. The second one, which we probably all know about by this stage, is Canva. I love Canva, and yes, you can pay for it like I do. I want to say I pay about £90 a year for it, but kind of regardless, Canva is absolutely fantastic. It's got a free version, and what I love Canva for is doing all of my episode artwork, my promotional content that I put out on social media. It's brilliant. You can also edit your episodes within Canva. I think there's a lot to Canva that people forget about, but the free version is really, really great if you don't want to be spending any money on it. The third free podcasting tool which I'm going to mention is Quicktime, which I'm actually using at the moment to record this episode. I don't normally use Quicktime, I will admit, but with wanting to do YouTube and talking about free tools and stuff, it made sense to use a free tool. So I am recording this for both the audio and the video on QuickTime, and I will be editing in iMovie because why not? It's a great tool. The third one that I'm going to recommend is Garageband. I'm a huge fan of Garageband, and I have to say I've been recently wondering to myself, why have I moved away from them when I was doing the audio only side of the podcast? But do you know what? I love Garageband. I think it's brilliant. I think it gets a bad rap from time to time because it's a free tool, but actually I think it's an amazing tool. I edited and recorded goodness knows how many episodes on there, even when I was doing recordings over Zencastr or Zoom, like really back in the day, right at the beginning, I was still editing the audio at least in Garageband because I love it. I think it's great, free for Mac users. The fifth podcasting tool which I'm going to recommend is Podbean. Now, Podbean is a podcast host, so a little bit different to the tools that I have been talking about up to now. So a hosting platform is the place where every single piece of information and all your episodes from your podcast is housed, and then your host will push out the information to the directories, and then your podcast will appear in the directories for your listeners and audience to listen to. So Podbean actually offers a free hosting service. They also have paid plans, but if you want to get started with something for absolutely free forever, and I don't just mean like a long trial period, I mean free forever, then Podbean does have a $0 free forever plan, which I think if you're just starting out or you don't want to have a huge podcasting budget, or you don't have a huge budget for your podcast, I think that this is a great tool. If you want some free hosting, I would check out Podbean. The next free tool which I'm going to recommend to you is Riverside FM. I love Riverside. You've heard me talk about it a lot on this podcast. I have used it to record and edit multiple episodes at this stage in time, and they also have got a free forever plan, which is $0 forever. You can upgrade, and the standard pricing starts from $15 per month, but as I said, they do have a $0 free forever plan. Now, obviously you're not going to get as many features with the free plan as you would with the other plans. However, they've still got a load of really good features, and I would say the biggest limitation of the free plan over the paid for plans is that when you download video, you can only download in a maximum of 720 video quality. But if you're not too fussed about the quality of the video, too fussed about it being in 4K, or if you're not recording video, if you're recording video but you're not putting the video out there and you're just using the audio, actually it doesn't really make any difference to you, then I think that the free version of Riverside is a really good option for you. The seventh free podcasting tool that I'm going to recommend is Descript. So Descript and Riverside, very similar. You're not going to need both of them at all, one or the other, because they are both recording and editing software. Now, I also love Descript. I use Descript, switched over to Riverside. I've actually, over the last few weeks, been dabbling with Descript again. I flick between the two, to be honest with you, and then also QuickTime Garageband. It just depends what mood I'm feeling in, what piece of software I want to use at that particular moment in time, what I'm trialing out for content, etc. But I have been using Descript in the last couple of weeks, and as ever, I love it. I love it just as much as Riverside, I'll admit. So Descript have got their own free plan. Their paid for plans start from $12 per month, but as I said, they do have a $0 free forever plan. With that free plan, you do only get 1 hour of remote recording and transcription per month, but if you've got a podcast which have got shorter episodes, then that's probably not going to be a problem for you. I mean, if you are doing 15-minute episodes, you do 4 of those a month, then actually you only need that 1 hour anyway. It probably isn't going to fit you too well if you are doing hour-long episodes. I know you are doing those every single week because you're going to go over your quota very quickly. However, I personally think that Descript is a great tool, particularly if you're doing those shorter episodes. Free podcasting tool number 8 is Vidyo, and that is Vidyo spelt Y-O, not E-O. Vidyo.ai is absolutely fantastic at helping you to create little short clips for social media. You can get up to 60 minutes for free every single month. I just cut out any clips, any video clips, any audio clips that I want to promote on social media for the podcast, put those very short clips, maybe 45 seconds to a minute and a half, something like that, upload that to Vidyo.ai and then add the captions in, as opposed to uploading an entire episode and then cutting it down, because then you're going to be using up that 60 minutes incredibly quickly. But if you're just putting up the shortened clips, then you can use Vidyo.ai probably forever, never have to pay for it. I probably shouldn't have admitted that. The next free podcasting tool that I am going to recommend is Buffer. Now, I no longer use Buffer, and that's only because I have moved over to Content Studio. I managed to get a lifetime deal for Content Studio, something amazing like $97 for lifetime use. So that's why I'm with Content Studio now. But before I was using Content Studio, I was using Buffer, and I also used Hootsuite. And Hootsuite is my 10th free podcasting tool to mention as well. Now, Buffer and Hootsuite are very, very similar in the sense that they schedule your social media posts. Their layouts and the way that you use them may differ ever so slightly, and really which one you use is going to come down to preference, but both of them have got free plans where you can upload a certain amount of content, usually about a week's content or X amount of posts per platform, and you can schedule that out. And I just think that is so useful, so useful for somebody who doesn't just podcast. I've got a job, and then when I'm not working, I've got the kids. I'm a working mum basically, and the podcasting, as much as I love it, it is a side hobby until I turn into the next Joe Rogan or, you know, whoever. I can create all of my social media content. I can upload it to Buffer or Hootsuite, like I said, was using them in the past, and then it will just put all that information out onto your social media platforms throughout the week, throughout the month, however you want to space your content out, which is just, that's brilliant as far as I'm concerned, because it's just a time saver. I have done episodes previously how I use tools such as Summarize to get a week's worth of content for a load of different social media platforms, and I will make sure that that is linked down in either the show notes or the episode description, or if you're on YouTube, there'll be like a little thing that pops up here. Do click on that to find out about Summarize. But those are my 10 free podcasting tools. As I said, when you guys listened to episode 80, and if you haven't, by the way, go back and make sure that you listen to that. If you haven't listened to episode 80, it is a good one, but it generated so much conversation with you guys, and I was really, really grateful for that conversation, because it just shows that we're building a community, a lazy girl podcasting community, which is not exclusive to just females. There are so many people in the lazy girl podcasting community who identify in any way, which, shape or form, and I'm not fussy. As long as you are awesome, you are welcome in the lazy girl podcasting community. On that note, I hope that you found something new. I hope that you found a cool tool in here that you haven't tried out before. If you do go and try out one of the tools, let me know in the comments what you think about that tool. If you're listening to the podcast, you can get in touch with me on Twitter at VeritySongon. I'd love to know what you think about the different tools that I've recommended. What would be totally awesome is for you to share this episode with any podcasters that you know, because you never know, one of these tools might just help blow their podcast up. Otherwise, thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you next episode.